Make your jobs easy. Stop insisting you have to be consulted on everything. Hi, I'm Wakeman. I'm a drama researcher. I'm the author of No Ego, and I'm the host of this show, Life's Messy, Live Happy. Today, we're going to talk a lot about where you can add the most value in a modern workplace. A lot of us have held on to this old belief that if people valued me, they would include me in decisions, that I would be consulted. And in fact, when we aren't consulted, we're pretty miffed about it. People spend a lot of time frustrated about not being consulted. And I'm here to update your beliefs as leaders and as employees. The question I'm going to answer today is from Tyrone T. He writes, I am frustrated with the leaders on my team. They have made some decisions lately without consulting anyone on the team. I personally could have told them that a couple of the things they are moving forward with do not have a chance of working. I want to add value, but how can I when they just won't ask? I want to start at one of my favorite places. It's called reality, and here's your new reality. Sometimes, in fact, many more times than you would ever think, you're not going to be consulted ahead of time. There's a ton going on in the world and in the universe without your consult today. I would love for you to get used to a really new role so that you can add incredible value and be really happy at work. And here's this new role. Get comfortable with being asked to execute on things for which you weren't consulted. Simply get good with it. See, you're assuming that your consult would add great value, and I would like you to question that at times. I had this weird discovery I made recently. I used to believe that, of course, I should be consulted on what I wore to work every day. I believed I added great value. When I would get up in the morning, I would go to my closet and I would put on an outfit. I would consult me. And then the outfit wouldn't be that awesome, so I'd take it off and I'd hang it on my treadmill. I'd put on another one. It wasn't what I wanted. I'd take that one off, put it on my treadmill. After 45 minutes, usually, I would go through having tried on all these outfits, and the outfit I went to work in wasn't the high value one. It was simply the one I ran out of time in. But yet I insisted I should be consulted because I added all this value. See, it wasn't true. And then I noticed that my husband just simply went to the dry cleaning bag and let his dry cleaner decide for him what he was going to wear the next day. He simply just grabbed the next outfit. Now, he didn't believe he needed to be consulted. And you know what? He actually had an advantage. By not needing to be consulted, he would go down, drink coffee, and have an extra 45 minutes getting prepared for his day. This was at the very time that I believed I didn't have time to do a podcast each week, which happens to take about 45 minutes. And if I just gave up consulting me and just let Ray, our dry cleaner, decide my outfit for the day, bam, I'd have 45 more minutes in the day to dedicate to something that's higher level work like a podcast. So here's a little known secret to happiness and to achieving some high level work. Get out of the need to be consulted. It frees you up to do the fun stuff, the incredibly high value stuff. Here we are back in my office for another roundtable. I'm with Alex Storr and Kelly Henshaw Thompson. Today, I want to bring up this whole controversy of people being ticked off because they weren't consulted. Do you guys hear this out there? That people are just like, I can't believe I'm being asked to do something I'm not consulted on.
Mm-hmm. Hear it a lot, for sure, yeah.
So how do you handle that when you're out and about? So how do we break this down? Let's unpack this.
Yeah.
How do we figure out the parts of this? So one of the things that is interesting to me is that people automatically assume for me to give you the gift of my work, The deal is, the condition is that you will have consulted me. And what I just let people know is like the universe doesn't require your consults. Like the planets are gonna spin, the world's gonna go, the rain's gonna come, has nothing to do with you. But where do you think people get the idea that they should be consulted? Like, where does it start?
You know, it's interesting. I like to tell my classes, this is something that I've noticed in my child and my daughter. And I don't think as adults we ever grow out of it, because I still use the adult version of it. And that is when I tell her to do something, or I ask her a question, or I say, we're gonna do this, it's mom, but first.
But first.
But first. It's
Mom,
the
but
but first. Like, I don't think as adults we really outgrow the but first, is what I call them. They just change and they become more sophisticated. And you know, it's kind of like when a decision's been made, our ego believes it gets a veto. And it's just the adult version of, but first.
But first.
But
I want to give my part.
Yeah.
But first, I want it to go my way. But
yeah.
Interesting.
It's just a way, I think, to just kind of like put your stamp on it. And then I think we all kind of argue for control at some point. You know, it's like, wait a minute. But let me spin this. Yeah.
It's like the ego's like, I want at least one grab at this.
Yeah.
You know, I think as leaders, I think we started this mess. I think we somewhere along the line started giving out this whole idea that we're going to consult all of you because we want consensus. We want, I think people use consensus as a way of buying in, but they're not connected. Just because I go out and I ask for your input doesn't mean you'll buy into it. I had a case early in my career where we were picking out a new monitor for nursing stations. And my boss said, well, go out and get the opinions of the nurses. Since you're not a nurse, go out and quiz them. We had 3 monitor choices. And I'll be darned if 30% wanted A, 30B, 30C. Now I'm in the dilemma where they're equally split. So no matter what I choose, I'm gonna tick off 60%. Yeah, it was like, dang. And I had this belief that if I asked you, then you would support. What I know is that inclusion doesn't lead to buy-in. They are separate. And a lot of us include people on the hopes that they'll buy in. And inclusion, we should include people because we know they have some expertise to offer. You know, they had expertise, these nurses, but you know what really made the decision? They were so similar, these monitors, the one that gave us the cheapest rate. Because purchasing made the decision. It wasn't any of us. And so I was out letting people think that they had some input only because I didn't want them to be upset. Like, we try not to upset them, and I don't know, it's so confusing.
Well, and then in this world, what if you're about to make that decision, tick off 60%, and then new technology came out and there was a 4th monitor that was better than all of them, and then you pick that one, even though all the research shows that's the best one, and then you've ticked off everyone because you didn't take any opinions.
See,
it's that whole idea how the
slope.
the market changes.
I think people need to understand there's a difference, one, between opinion and expertise. Back in the 80s, before we had Google and best practices and associations, like back in the day, we had to Google we had to Google them to get any type of input. We even told people like the people who should make the decision are the ones closest to the work. But now that leads to people just presenting more preference, what they like, their opinions, not their expertise, because we have less and less expertise, but we kept the same number of opinions. I don't know, it's just kind of a mess. You have leaders that you coach that are trying to get consensus with people.
Yeah, and then that's exactly what they find is in the end, they'll realize that everyone's idea won't be in the final decision, and then they kind of blackmail or sabotage them with their buy-in at the end, or throughout, I guess. And then it all is kind of, like you said, a slippery slope of resistance the whole way, because there's a little snag that, well, you didn't take my idea, so why should I do the work as hard? And it's interesting without, when you bring in all that consensus building, and it basically just stops a decision from being made very quickly.
Well, it's really emotional blackmail. I think it's an old way of playing. Folks, here's the reality. Most of the decisions made in any of our lives aren't made by us. If we're doing business well, they should be made by our customers. Or a lot of times they're made by the regulators, or they're made in healthcare by the payers, or the evidence. Like a lot of our decisions should be made based on best practice. Like I don't come and decide for my company what we're gonna do next. I have to look at how people are consuming and they decide. So I didn't come top down and say, you guys, we're going to do a ton of social media, and there's nothing for them to resist against.
Social media.
There's nothing for them to resist against. We didn't even make that decision, folks. We looked at how people consumed media, and people were frustrated that social media was a disruption at work. And so we thought, hey, why don't we become people's disruption at work? Like you're watching this show, hopefully at work, it's the show your boss will let you watch at work.
That's a big lesson.
Our ego has not caught up to reality. And we are still wanting to be consulted, but here's the reality. Most of the decisions in today's world aren't even made by us. We are here to respond to where the market's going and to capitalize on that change. And the more energy we can conserve and the quicker we can get in the zone and work with the natural order of things, the quicker we can say yes and the better. And that's what keeps us competitive. And a lot of people want to keep their organization safe. And I tell people, I'd rather you keep me competitive because your opinion is what wants to keep me safe. You're being included. You want to keep me safe and aligned with what you already know to do and what you think is right. I don't want to be safe. I want to be competitive. And the only way I can be competitive is if we notice where the market's going and we look at how we can capitalize on that. And then everybody gets out of being consulted on whether we should do it or not, and gets really excited to be consulted on how we could do it.
And it's not the ultimate job safety and security.
No kidding. No kidding. And that's where the energy comes from, right? If you're trying to stop everything all day long or micromanage it or be consulted so that you have a signature on it, you're gonna be exhausted. If you just jump in and go, where are we going? And I have an idea, and I have an idea, and I have an idea, the energy will build. It expands rather than contracts. And a lot of us are trying to use an old way of working when what we need is a modern way of coming together and moving forward. Make your jobs easy, folks. I'm telling you what, make your jobs easy. Stop insisting you have to be consulted on everything. Just step back. Let people do it one of the 100 ways it could be done. Free your time up, conserve your energy, and go add value with what's your unique gift, what only you can do. Most of us try and get consulted on what 100 people can do. What I want you to do is save your energy so that you can really add in your signature on what only you can do. And that's where you're going to feel really great about the work that you produce. So I'm so glad I got a couple of yes-sayers on my team. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. We've tackled a tough concept for your ego to get its mind around, and that is that you don't always need to be consulted, but you can always add value. I want you to notice when you learn of something that needs your expertise to move forward, I want you to notice how hooked your ego gets and how frustrated you are that you weren't consulted, and then get over it. Accept that you know today and that you've got expertise that can make it work, and invest in making it happen. I think you're going to find that you have a lot more energy at the end of the day, and that you can use that energy to add even greater value in the future.